Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to another day of the Dota 2 Asia Championships American Qualifier action. Today, an awesome doozy of coverage going to be coming your way. We're going to be leading things off with PPD Stack WanteD going against compLexity Gaming, and then we'll follow that up with Team NP going against Onyx. I'm Coddle Guy for Beyond the Summit. And today's a special day because for like the past 2 weeks, I've been stuck in this room by myself in my own little casting dungeon. And today, a human being has come in here with me to join me, and it's going to be Blaze. Blaze joining me in house. How you doing, sir?
Doing pretty good, Dakota. It's good to be back. It's been a little while since my last cast. I think actually my last thing was for the Boston Qualifier. So I've been following a lot of these teams, though. A lot of the action here in NA Dota has been really hype, really intense. So it's been a lot of fun games to watch. Obviously, one team we've gotten to watch a lot more of than the other because WanteD, they just made their debut the other day.
Yes,
So
they did. What a debut it was. You know, for a lot of teams who have just thrown together a roster and they're trying to like get their sea legs, if you will, being thrown into a matchup against DC would seem very intimidating. But PPD, obviously, he's a TI champion. He's got huge amounts of talent working with him and this team, and they just made it look like it was effortless in their matchup against DC. Just rolled right through them. A very confident PPD went into a post-game interview with Grant, just saying, "How do you like that, EU fans?" It was awesome.
it was great. It was great.
So they got to be feeling great.
For sure. I mean, they obviously have a very clear idea of where they want to go with their team. And while a lot of people started off by saying, oh, this is going to be a fun team, this is not going to distract PPD from being a CEO of Evil Geniuses, well, they've been scrimming like 3 times a day. So they've been very active, very involved. And I think that this team has a lot of potential as far as like making it through the regionals of the next major and possibly just going straight to DAC. I mean, it's crazy to say that off their first tournament they're going to participate. Some people were even saying, should they be even invited to this tournament to participate because they haven't done anything up to this point. But you've got TI veterans here, you've got a TI champion, and obviously that experience shows.
I mean, I don't want to make the guy's head any bigger if he is one to have a big head or not. But you know, people are starting to say PPD is like the Western Xiao 8, if you will, just able to kind of take in these. You know, this raw talent, maybe some newcomers, which we know Boris also made a huge showing himself in their last matchup. Game 1, he was a bit rusty, but it wasn't until his true showing when he got a hold of that axe that he really kind of just dunked his way into everyone's hearts. So we'll have to see if he's going to continue to have a strong showing here. I think we're due to kind of acknowledge the draft before us now. WanteD, no shame, lead themselves right into that lone druid. compLexity snag up one of their signature tried and trues in the Leshrac, go into a Slardar. WanteD, early move into a Clockwork, interestingly enough, and then a Baden comes out for Cole.
Yeah, Clockwork is one of those heroes that can make Leshrac almost useless. Like, the cast animations on that hero is so miserable that if you're right on top of him with a battery assault, you can actually kill him with him doing almost no damage in return. So, very effective hero to bring to the table, and of course, just having a long range of initiation is going to allow your Lone Druid to stay back. We have seen some teams still going back for the Radiance Bear-based Lone Druid. But more and more, obviously, with the new talents, you're seeing this ranged Lone Druid, which is practically a sniper in his attack range. So when you have somebody on the front line that can just go in with the hookshot, with the power cogs, create this buffer where the Lone Druid can just stay back and do his thing, it's going to be extremely potent.
It's funny, though, is because maybe it's just the American region only. Maybe it's just my luck, but I have honestly seen 50-50, if not more, of the Radiance Lone Druid. Even last night in a pub where I got my ass beat with Mott and company, I'll call out Mott, he was there, but we both lost. And it was to a Radiance Bear Lone Druid. If this was compLexity Lone Druid right now, I'd say it is going to be a Radiance Lone Druid. Moo has been stubborn about keeping that tradition alive. I don't know what WanteD's going to be doing with it, though, so it's interesting. But here, a Wisp comes out. PPD's time on EG. They didn't get a whole lot of Wisp, maybe occasionally for him, maybe occasionally for Zai, but they have Jayo, who's been repping really good Wisp. So he's definitely going to be going to the Wisp a lot more with this squad.
Yeah, he rocks it. And just having more mobility, more attack speed for whatever core you pick up. Obviously, we got to see from the second game in WanteD versus DC, where WanteD built up a lot of attack speed and a lot of steroids for their cores. They had, in that game, an Ogre, a Wisp, and a Legion Commander. All that attack speed to throw out on a Luna. And no matter what carry you have, an IO can do so much for him with the overcharge. Just the increased effective HP, the increased attack speed, that carry will go that much further in the distance. And of course, when you're around level 6, you still have a lot of pressure game. You are able to go in and be very active, very mobile, and very aggressive, and also split push aggressively because the defensive relocate. Like Wisp brings so much to the table
Yeah.
in these kinds of games, and of course, because he's so strong in the mid and the late game, he's going to be prevalent in a team like WanteD. But going into the next pick here, we do have a Weaver. We have seen in the past really cool lane duels like Abaddon Weaver, where you go Aphotic Shield and you just Shukuchi right in. There's really nothing they can do. If you trade poorly. So with the fact that Io is not a trading support necessarily, he's much more about sustain. I could see this being a very powerful dual lane, but that's kind of the strength of complexity right now, I would say, is their versatility with all these heroes. They play Shrek in multiple roles.
Yep.
They play Slardar as a 4 as well as a 3 position.
Yep.
And the Abaddon we've seen in that vein as well. So a lot of potential for their lanes to develop in multiple different capacities, and it's kind of difficult for WanteD to predict.
You know, I hate to come off so honest, but it's like, yeah, Swindle's not known for his sweet gameplay, but where he does shine or he loves to shine is in the draft.
Yeah.
Being transparent, being unique, having those signature raw pickups, maybe doing that 180 here. So, as you mentioned, we don't know what the hell's going to happen here with this Weaver, with this Lesh, what Zephric's going to be going on, what Moo's going to be grabbing up. And Swindle plans to utilize the talents of his team and the flexibility that they do offer. Intriguing pickup, though, here. WanteD, Storm Spirit. I mean, there is no Underlord to worry about, obviously, so he has kind of a little free reign for mobility here. It's not the easiest to be able to get the connection from Leshrek, obviously, on Stunning Storm. Slardar is going to be dependent on his Blink Dagger. What do you think about the Storm Spirit coming out here?
Well, first of all, of course, it's going to be QO's Storm, so there's going to be a lot of potential for him to make big plays on it, but it synergizes so well with the Clockwork and the IO in terms of range of initiation, either globally relocating or just hookshotting in. They can single out a target very effectively. Orchid is particularly good this game against pretty much any of these heroes, but especially the Weaver and the Abaddon. And then you go on to say that, yeah, there's very limited disable against this Storm Spirit, where most Storms are struggling with Ball Lightning against the new root mechanic, where they can't cast it while they are entangled. That's not really an issue here. You know that most likely the 4 and 5 positions are going to be taken up by the Slardar Leshrac, or at least the Abaddon Leshrac. And with that in mind, you really don't have to be afraid of anything. Like, it's going to be so long before they can start controlling the Storm Spirit.
Yeah.
And it's a very smart 4th pick here from WanteD.
We've seen complexity pull out stuff like Silencer. I don't know if they're going to try to find a way to move that into their lineup at all. I think I remember a game where even Cancel played it in the mid lane. Swindle has played it before as support. I don't know how much attention they want to put onto the Storm Spirit now that they feel like they may be lacking some of those tools in their 4-man spread already.
Yeah.
We'll see, though. The next pick is going to be going the way of WanteD here, and what we anticipate to be PPD's pickup?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of options here. Rubik's fine, honestly. Oh, wait, that was banned out first. Never mind. But
what about like a classic Lion, a PPD Lion, if you need the extra lockdown, let's say?
Yeah,
or
any kind of control is good. So the Crystal Maiden here with a lot of good slows, a lot of good mana sustain. I mean, Arcane Aura combined with the Wisp, you have pretty much full mana on anybody constantly. Android can spam his Rabbit, etc.
Clockwork will be happy about that in the laning phase, too.
And it could be very preemptive against an Invoker pick here from Complexity. If Cancel wants to go for his Invoker, specifically Wexvoker, which is good against the Lone Druid and the Storm, the Arcane Aura can quickly reinforce mana pools, so that's not going to immediately shut down a push when an EMP connects.
We'll see here, though. Knowing and
reserve time,
anticipating his slated matchup against the Storm Spirit here. Still lots of favorable options if they want to go straight into something that's more dominant in the laning phase. OD, for example, totally ignored. Is that something to be considered at all, or they had banned out the DK, so I don't know if there's other more tankier options that maybe they wanted to get.
A lot of mids being banned out pretty early on. I think that's why they went
the OD was banned.
For 4th pick Storm Spirit. Invoker I still think is probably one of the better options in the pool here, just because there are so many mids banned, but I mean, you never know with Complexity. Swindles, I mean, he's this guy who really likes to win Dota. And especially, I mean, they said in the AMA that the salt's behind them, that's all history, but PPD and Melons, they certainly have a history.
We didn't even get to talk about that yet. I mean, a lot of people are coming into this, like, salivating at the mouth over that kind of drama, into this. But, of course, there is a long history between these captains, Swindle and PPD. On a team together, right, back in Heroes of New Earth, had a bit of an outing. And since then, in their what is becoming lengthy esports career, have continued to butt heads. But, it's one of those things where you imagine down the road there'll be old men in rocking chairs on the front porch. It's like, hey, you remember when I was all salty and you were all swindly and you drop your Yules? Yeah, I remember.
Oh, my goodness.
Complexity, though, they get the Mirana grab.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly fine. It seems appropriate for the amount of damage they need to put out early on. If the Wisp doesn't get good farmed, he's not going to have a mechanism at a really good time this game, and that way getting more AoE damage out in general is going to be a very positive thing. So getting the Aghanims, double Star Storm,
Yeah,
comboed up with Lesh damage and Weaver damage, you should be able to burst down a couple targets here. Not so sure about how it's going to fare against this Lone Druid Bear, though. Like,
that's the thing. Yeah.
you're not really able to jump on him so well until you get your Blink Dagger on Slardar. I'm really worried this Lone Druid is just going to get out of control. But that being said, right now, compLexity have really strong laning.
10
Weaver and Mirana
seconds
should do really
remaining.
well and be extremely difficult to gank.
So if we're
5
anticipating this
seconds
Weaver is going to
remaining.
get involved a lot early in all of that mess, like what is going to be the late game for compLexity at that point? If they're kind of able to get the upper hand versus WanteD, who are going to try to do what they can without getting their lone Druid 2 involved, let's say,
Prepare for
is it
battle.
just compLexity snowballing off of that, maybe having advantage in numbers, or are they also going to take their Weaver, put him over on the side, get him some farm so he can kind of match up to where the lone Druid is trying to get?
I think ideally they try to because they have such a strong lane advantage. From my perspective, they're really strong level 1 through 5. I would say that compLexity should probably start an aggressive stance. Expect Chessie go top. They can send the Weaver and the Abaddon up there. They can kind of at least put out a lot heavier pressure. But if they want to guarantee farm and just go for a good mid game with the Desolator, you could still move safe lane, Monkeys off lane on the Abaddon, and then just have Z-Freak roam really heavily up top. Because the Abaddon Slardar is still really strong. It's not the same level of aggression as the Weaver Abaddon, but at the same time, at least you're guaranteeing farm in the safe lane as well. So I would, you got Boots first on Z-Freak already. I expect him and Monkeys to play around very actively up top, and even maybe Melons to poke around up there. You could definitely make a tri lane out of this.
Yeah, this could end up being hell on earth for Chessie if compLexity have their way in this laning phase, certainly at the top lane, which is what it looks like they're going to be heading directly towards. Do WanteD have options if they have to make an audible call and change things up? If they don't kind of get the gist of what's going on and they start sending the lone druid to the top lane, they see it's a position where he's not going to be able to get really anything or thrive. What could WanteD do to, bounce back from that, to be able to kind of, make the most out of the situation?
Well, expecting that situation, Boris would probably go for a more aggressive build where he can just 1v1 against the Weaver, maybe even a poor man shield to deal with his harassment, and then just try to win out that lane. In the meantime, the CM is not going to be jungling. If she sees an aggressive tri-lane against her, just going to go for a level 1 Crystal Nova and try to fight it out. And we'll see what options they have. I mean, with Jo Wisp, he's going to be rushing a bottle. The CM, Crystal Nova is pretty good level 1, but she only gets to cast it a few times. And then the Lone Druid having pretty limited potential until about level 5 when you get that Entangling Roots. I'm not so sure. Like, they'll play very defensively. They'll have to play very under tower. I think that compLexity are going to just automatically have a laning advantage based on the draft, and then they're going to have to just focus on the mid game when Storm Spirit and Clockwork are at their strongest.
Now, those on paper seem great, but we do have to factor in that touch of player skill a little bit here. compLexity, a team that have been boot camping now for quite a while. I mean, how would you fare with their player skill when you go up against a team like WanteD, who you have Chessie, who has unfortunately been plagued with injuries in the past, has found himself on teams like Alliance, but has been a high MMR, high-profile player for quite a while. QO's brash, but they don't have as much chemistry as a team like compLexity should have. So where do you balance the power between a team that has a lot of chemistry working together? They have a chef even, and then a team that has just so much talent and is just got all that raw power.
Yeah, well, I mean, if we were talking just a few days ago before the match versus Digital Chaos, I would say that WanteD would theoretically have a lot of chemistry issues. They would have a lot of problems coordinating. PPD would have a trouble keeping the reins on everybody and all these unique
30
talents
seconds
and their
to
unique
battle.
playstyles, but we got to see what they can do and how they can work together against DC in their last 2 games, and it was extremely impressive to the point that I actually think that this team is already really well in sync.
Did you hear, though, last night they lost their first round of Battle Cup?
Yeah, I watched that, dude. They had Jo drafting it, and they were going for a mid-Elder Titan that turned into a weird 4-position support. I don't know, Pudge, ET, support duo. I don't think that's a Battle Cup
The
victory.
battle begins.
I heard them say something that they may have gone against stream snipers. Those
Yeah.
sound like excuses to me, but
No,
whatever the case may be.
what I heard is that you should never let QO control the draft at all, because he's recommending mid-ETs and Aghanims gyrocopters and nonsense.
gets him shaking off that loss and it makes him more thirsty for a win today. Maybe that's the mentality in the long run for
sure.
this. Let's see how the lanes do continue to progress. It looks like Z-Freak is not heading up to the top lane. He's taking his business down south, it would appear. So leaving the matchup of Monkeys just kind of going toe-to-toe with the Lone Druid, or at least he may think for now, because nearby there is PPD and Jo just kind of working with the jungle camp. So not as we anticipated here, that they were going to put a lot of pressure on the Lone Druid.
Yeah. I felt that that was actually the strongest move that compLexity could make if they wanted to try to shut down Chessie early, but obviously they don't really consider that a high priority, and they're just going to focus on their other lanes. So you're going to see Z-Freak more so just doing a little bit of jungle play, and then moving to roam onto QO before level 6. If they can kill off the Storm once or twice before he gets 6, then it actually could be worth it to go for this kind of more defensive posture. But at the same time, that means PPD is going to play in the jungle, and he's going to be able to be very active on the lane.
Monkeys here, happy to go up in arms here. The classic Abaddon 1 versus 3. Scary to go against Monkeys on this kind of a hero, because he will fiend this hero even in his pubs, let's say. He knows the limitations of how far he can go, how much he can harass that support before he puts himself in the danger zone. And you don't always want to be testing the limitations of someone who has that.
Yeah, not going for the X-Mike build of like getting the passive and just maxing his aphotic shield. This gives him some potential to suicide if shit really hits the fan, but all in all, I do think that he's going to be fine until the Lone Druid hits level 5. Once the Entangling Claws comes out, he can only dispel one of 2 abilities, either the Frostbite or the Entangle, and the other one should kill him off.
Looks like Z-Freak, he did what we have been seeing Z-Freak and Rose of MP do quite a bit. They went to the bottom lane. They did that side pull camp towards the tower. He got himself the level, and now he's going to be trying to join up here with Monkeys, who could certainly use his assistance. Now under a serious amount of pressure, an overcharged Lone Druid, Bear and Crystal Maiden all on his tail right there. Z-Freak now pushing on forward a bit, but obviously not any good openings there to set up a crush play.
And so this was kind of what I was expecting originally. It turns out that Z-Freak just wanted to do a little bit of pulling to the south of the Radiant Jungle to under the tower to get his free level 2.
Yeah.
And that gives a little bit more experience to the Abaddon as well, because CM isn't really that scary level 1. Level 2 has a lot more gank potential, has a lot more disable potential, but early on, not really that threatening. So they split up the experience, that they profit more from it, and now Z-Freak gets to be more involved up top.
In the meantime, bottom lane, we saw Swindles go on a pretty deep adventure there. It looks like he went all the way down to block out the side pole camp. So no future shenanigans would be available there to Boris, I guess, if he wanted to try to pull the wave back in his favor. Swindle trying to take the most of kind of being the bully in this lane and not allowing the Clockwork to get too much. He is level 3, though, so he's still able to kind of creep in there and make his business happen.
Yeah, so I don't really see Swindle doing too much in terms of zoning on the Clockwork at this stage, but he is going to be able to get a lot of pulling off and get some experience for himself. So it really seems like compLexity's early game plan is just to develop every one of their heroes, get a little bit of jungle play on Z-Freak and Swindle Melons, and across the board they're going to be hitting some pretty good level 5, level 6 timings where they're going to be able to work together as a team. Now, this does also give some space to Chessie and to QO, which can create problems later on.
Uh-oh. Commitment of the Frostbite onto Z-Freak. He gets the shield for Monkeys. He's going to be fine. Has to commit the crush, though, and will be able to make it out.
And the beauty of the 7.0 offlane, you take a lot of damage, you just shrine it up, and you're right back. Full mana, full health, ready to operate again. So
hey, man, you know, that means more fights, more getting back in the action, right?
Definitely, but it also, allows you to be so much more aggressive. No more, like, from the beginning of the game, you know that you're going Iron Talon and you're just jungling and not ever seeing an enemy hero for the first 10 minutes of the game. You definitely have a lot more incentives to stay on the lane in this patch, and of course when you get 2 people to take the benefit of the shrine, then you're just being able to add in the incentive.
Man, let's touch base now. We haven't been able to look at this mid lane a whole lot, but it's looking pretty sweet at the moment for QO, as we see they're able to grab the correct rune, or at least go to the correct spot to get the illusion rune now. He's currently up on Cancel, about 4 CS. Cancel, though, looking to take a better position. He's going, pretty heavy into the Starstorm, so who knows? You get that connection with the arrow, get that set up. Maybe need that +1 and nearby Swindle. You could get something going. Ooh, heavy damage on the Bear here. They have to commit the Savage Roar. They want the money. Nice snipe right there. It's going to be Monkeys who takes it down and will pocket the 300 extra pieces of gold.
Very high value. That's he's going to turn to Bassi for now, going in for the wand next, and Phase Boots as well. Just a little bit of extra gold, but for an offlaner, that's a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, that is like 2 full ways of CS. That is just a huge boon for him. And Chessie, not a big deal for him. He just resummons it, and it's probably not going to die again. But just that aspect of getting the freebie for Monkeys, he's going to be able to get his early tier 1 items very, very shortly.
Yeah, which it seems he's going to go right for the phase boots. And once his level 6 comes together, this guy is going to be getting in your face, and it looks like he'll be able to get in your face fast. He'll be able to bring a punch with it. And could be unfortunate, especially for these supports, if caught a little out of position here. Let's touch base with them. Level 3 on JO, level 4 on PPD. Right now kind of working as a tag team as they walk their way through the jungle here. And now even smoke up. Looks like eyes towards the mid lane on spotting out maybe where Cancel is. Cancel's on his own adventure, though, heading towards the bottom.
Yeah, but if you do get that gank off and there is an enemy hero there, you're able to ball lightning past them, get the tether slow on top of it, and then that gives enough time for the CM to get in position. So really good opportunity. We'll see if they can find it here on bottom lane as there's a smoke going the other way. Yeah,
compLexity looking for a setup themselves onto Boris, the clockwork here in the bottom lane. Just behind them a few yards is WanteD. Looking for their own setup, but it looks like they may just miss each other as compLexity look to make their move. Swindle goes for the stun. It's going to connect. Cancel looking to roll in after, just goes in for the dive. For the starfall, and it's going to be good enough. One right click should clean up the job. Cole will strike and get it done.
So, I mean, that's a really good movement from them. Obviously, they weren't able to get an arrow set up, but still just being able to go in hard with the nukes from Cancel. But a mid-game rotation, you're going to be able to spell First Blood on an off-laner 9 out of 10 times when you get that kind of smoke movement. In the meantime, WanteD got a couple good things themselves. They got an Observer Ward via the smoke. I would really be surprised if it ever got dewarded. And, of course, they made the move when Chessie was already like level 5, level 6, so he doesn't really lose out too much on the top lane. He's still in the top 3 of CS. So, nice first blood play for compLexity, but I'm expecting more from them because soon WanteD is going to start snowballing very quickly.
Yeah. So, as I check the top lane, Chessie's not feeling so comfortable now. Monkeys is beginning to swell up a bit. He's one creep away from getting that level 6, and attention is certainly being drawn this way. QO now stepping away for the mid lane. He's level 7. He's walking up to the top lane, and he sees Z-Freak here. Z-Freak trying to use the sprint to run on out. QO has eyes for Monkeys now. Quickly going to get the borrow type popped off. And now the Moonlight Shadow going to be coming out from Cancel as they step back and readjust. JO joins their side. Now it seems to be the end of this one. Z-Freak will slip out the other direction as they will not have the way to chase or detect them.
Yeah, a little impoverished from the WanteD supports. They don't have an answer to the Moonlight Shadow at this point in time, but I expect every Moonlight from this point forward should have at least one sentry involved in the process. And despite the fact that QO was just here, Z-Freak is getting very aggressive.
They wanted that bounty route so bad. Cancel set the preemptive arrow just in case someone was there guarding it. No one was. Z-Freak will be able to nab it. So I guess for them and their little adventure, it was all worth it.
Gotta say, though, Moo is doing some work here on bottom. I mean, he is actually up to 59 and 19 in terms of CS. Force is 14 and 3. Like I said, I don't think Swindles offers much in terms of kill potential, but obviously all the pulling really hurt Clockwork's early progression because Moo has been able to just roll over him. Just a Blightstone, Treads, and Aquila, and he's able to...
Okay, rushing in, top lane, Z-Freak. It gets the crush onto the bear, but that will be the end of it. And I echo your feelings here for Moo. It's feeling like Moo just really wants to win this series. Like, he really wants to make a point. This is a guy who's already having a very interesting history from his recent teams here, and he's 63 and 20 on a Weaver. This is incredible right now in the bottom lane. I don't know. We're thinking that WanteD's going to cream up in the late game. They're going to have a significant Lone Druid, but I'm curious to see what kind of power spike Moo's going to bring with his Weaver.
Yeah, I mean, if it was just a strict 1v1, I thought there was a lot of potential for the Clockwork just to go maybe like phase boots and trade very evenly. Like I said, 4-man shield phase, and you can do a lot of work in that lane. But Boris is going for his kind of more traditional build-up where he just wants to get tanky, wants to get sustainable, and wants to keep getting experience so that he can get the hookshot online as fast as possible and hopefully start making plays with it. He needs to TP top if they're going to win this fight.
Swindle spots out where PPD is, dishes out the stun, but they already had the vision exactly what was happening with compLexity side, and now they're going to jump on forward. They get the takedown of the Lesh, but that may be all. compLexity are able to make the distance to avoid further confrontation here. This is a full 5-man commitment from WanteD in the top lane.
Yep, they rotate the Clockwork over. That means Moo's going to get a lot of damage on this tower, maybe even just finish it off naturally. But if that fight had kept going, Boris would have been there with a really good hook shot to enable them to essentially take like a 3 for 0 in that exchange. So WanteD commit a lot. They only get a little, and instead it's going to be Moo that profits the most with the tier 1 falling bot.
Yep. He is a bit hesitant to try to get the commitment here. Jayo's nearby. He wants to get it done, and he will.
Oh,
Clockwork.
Jayo!
Clockwork's nearby. There's the time lapse. They are going to get the finish here. Boris is waiting for the hook shot. Only going to connect onto the range creep here.
Man.
Goes for the cogs. It's going to bump Moo away, and he says, see you later. Sakuchi's out from trouble. Up and above. More action to break out. Z-Freak crushing onto PPD as Melons does go down. Z-Freak wants revenge here for his fallen brother. Jesse shows up, though, gets off the Savage Roar. Moo, in the meantime, gets a pickup on the other side of the globe, and it looks like Z-Freak should be able to make it away.
Yeah, Cancel just drops his full spell arsenal on him, drops QO down to about 20%, and then Moo just comes in on the side and pokes him down. So just a really good movement from Moo, being able to pick up a tier 1 and 2 kills in a very short span of time. He's going to be able to explode this game. He's going for the Dragonlance next. He's going to fight PPD.
Yes, he is. Moves right in, gets him with the Bug Swarm. Jayo's going to have to be there to help out, and that's the moment that Moo realizes that he could be going in over his head. Sakuchi's a bit, tries to shake off Chessie. Chessie's on chase here. That bear gets a good root on the first hit. Could be trouble. Moo's going to be able to Sakuchi, and Monkeys was nearby just in case. Man, this game starts slow pace, but man, it got tense real fast.
Absolutely. I mean, it was just a really good setup from compLexity where they were able to kind of drag out this top lane, put out some pressure here and there. You saw that the CM and the IO did not get as much free farm as they wanted. And in the meantime, you see this Weaver just start to explode in his safe lane.
Z-Freak is just eyeballing Jayo, trying to get a hold of him here, not able to get close enough. Further crush, finds himself in trouble as he's going to be rooted up. He is nearly dead. Moonlight Shadow is there. PPD within the trees trying to go for the ulti. Gets off some good damage, but will eventually be brought down from Melons himself. Jayo hiding within the trees, able to sidestep Melons. Tethers up to Chessie, and they should be able to easily put Melons into a hurt locker. He's going to get dropped down and below. A chase is on for Monkeys here. Boris, 4 charges on his wand. Gets close enough for the battery assault, and he's going to be able to get the cogs off now. Z-Freak's nearby. Gets in with the crush. The deny is there for Monkeys, though, but it's another takedown. A promising fight from WanteD.
Yeah, nice little use of there. It's only 75 self-damage on the level 1 miscoil, but that can still get you a lot of suicides if you can see the damage coming. So nice little play there. But yeah, across the board, just compLexity is really starting to ramp up the aggression. They know they can tower dive really well. That's almost what their heroes are designed for, just getting aggressive. And this Moonlight Shadow, again, is paying dividends because right now, the underfarm supports of WanteD are just trying to catch the Weaver, dropping sentry after sentry against him, and it turns out that the real threat, this Moonlight, is allowing them to win every single exchange. So right now it's only 4-3, but it's been a lot of hot and heavy action underneath towers, and I expect some more heavy pressure coming in from compLexity.
Moves in. Heeding to your call of pressure onto Jayo here and now, who jumps back for QO, tries to hide, but not going to be able to. A jump in, though, and amount of pressure is going to blow up Moo before he can get out with any sort of time lapse there. Boris could be next to get dropped. Good connection on the stun. Makes it a 2-for-2 trade. compLexity trying to get out of this. QO, not too much mana to make chase, and they'll have to let that one slide. Another trade of blows both ways, but it's WanteD who get the better end of the gold.
Yeah, absolutely. Still a very key kill onto the Weaver there, and actually QO gets over 600 gold from that kill alone.
Relocate in from Jayo, joining QO, and both of them will be able to easily tag team and take down Z-Freak. So, good solid pick-off. It delays him from that Blink Dagger. Yeah.
In the meantime, Monkeys Forever with his classic Helm the Dominator.
Sorry, PPD looked like he ate an arrow. We see the back end of it as Cancel rolls in and just knocks him down.
Brutal. But they do get a tower out of it here. Monkey is going to be pressuring with his Dominator creep here, and he's going to be able to just finish that off, no problem. Going back for the aura, like I said, a pretty high priority thing for a core Abaddon. And now, yeah, he'll go for like a Vladimir's Offering or some progression therein.
How about QO here? Looks like early point booster, nothing like straight to the Orchid, straight to the Bloodstone for him, it seems.
Yeah, I'm actually a little surprised since I thought the Orchid would create a lot of value this game, but Bloodstone first, it's still, you can still always go back for the Orchid at any point in time.
Yeah.
It's not like you're going to be seeing like a Manta or BKB too early on the Weaver. He'll go for the Lincolns.
Boris has spotted out Cancel here, but Boris is pretty far from his team, and compLexity are nearby, so they'll be able to quickly clean out the little robot. Jumping on through, QO, long grab and pull back onto Cancel right now. The Moonlight Shadow is out. Do they have the detection for it? Melons is going to get the blast takedown of Swindle. Can he make it out? Swindle is going to be going down. QO on the other end. Going to get shot apart, it looks like, from Moo. A big, promising fight for compLexity as they also take the bear. 4 going to get dropped, only Chessie to survive. compLexity just in the better place at the better time.
Right now, WanteD just want to spread the map out as hard as possible because they cannot take a fight. They can pick off really well, but as far as fights, they need so much more farm on the Lone Druid to make that happen. As for right now, there's the negative armor synergy between the Weaver and the Slardar. There's the chain stunning potential between the Slardar and the Leshrac. Like, they've got so much potential to 5-man on the side of Complexity.
Jump in Boris onto Z-Freak here. Holds him in his place for now, and then they show up between Chessie and Jo, and they're going to be able to get the burst on the Slardar, but they could end up losing some lives themselves. Jo nearby, 4 more seconds, he'll be able to make it out. He should leave Chessie behind, and it looks like he will. Here comes WanteD now, on a chase, up and over. It looks like Storm Spirit could find himself in trouble as he eats the stun, jumps out, jumps back in, gets the pull. Oh, just barely dodges the arrow coming in from Cancel. He tries to make it out to safety. He's trying to get the bugs off in time. Can he do it? Woo! Barely lives with 20 life. He'll try to jump and make it away, but Monkey's looking to snipe him. Got him! Miss Coil finishes him off. Makes it even a better fight for Cole.
That poor Adamant Storm Spirit. Like, he got stunned right when he finished the TP. Perfect timing from Swindles, and what it meant is that he was purely on the defensive, only using his mana for Ball Lightning for the rest of the fight. So QO ends up going down, and Complexity keep themselves in forward momentum. They need all the momentum they can get as Chessie gets more and more farm, but right now, I mean, they've got Vladimir's Dominator on the Abaddon. They've got the Blink coming up very shortly on Z-Freak. These are the tools Complexity needs to close out the game.
And Moo is still on the prowl, man. Mid lane, he moves in after a bug swarm, starts taking it to Boris here. Jo is going to be forced to step in and help out, but he has his work cut out for him even then. But Moo will have Mercy this day, pull off and get back to work right now. And a Lincoln Sphere is going to be next setup.
Yeah.
You know, led in early with the Dragon Lance, so he got the trusty stats and the extra range to work with. Now we'll have even more stats, more defense. Bottom lane, long jump from QO to make a move on a Swindle. Swindle pops everything he got, and he's taking it to QO himself, and they're going to possibly be able to burst him down. He gets the jump, and they get the escape back home. But QO may have learned a valuable lesson there.
He's learning very quickly how squishy he can be, and obviously the Bloodstone will help a lot with that, where he can actually survive throughout the fights. But at least for right now, he's taken way too much damage at the beginning of the fights. And while Storm Spirit is more of a front-loaded burst damage dealer, right now he's on the receiving end of that, and it's pretty painful. So he has to be a lot more careful about how he positions himself in the next few fights. And obviously, Flexi, they're just going to keep deathballing. They're just going to be pushing really hard. The Lincoln's progressing rapidly for the Weaver, and then he can start going into more damage like the Desolator. In the meantime, Aghanims has been finished on the Mirana cancel, finishing that one up, and Z-Freak has his dagger, so.
This is, yeah, I mean, Complexity look like they're going to be even scarier than they were before. I would fear for WanteD at this point moving forward. Complexity, time to move in. Let's get some wards down. Roche is standing. I mean, you have the Slardar after all. It shouldn't be too much trouble, and you don't really fear a fight. I guess there is the fear of the Storm Spirit and that whole ordeal when you're going into the Roche pit, but it's obvious that pressure is going to be on WanteD to either play it slow and play the farming game or just avoid trouble. Boris, though, is going to find himself in a bit of trouble here. Z-Freak is stalking him at the moment. Then will decide to make his move. Leads in with the crush. There's the bug swarm. No arrow, but snow needed.
Yeah. If he goes for the TP, maybe the arrow helps out, but otherwise they got the clear kill just from the invisible initiation of the Slardar from the depths. But yeah, Kyo trying just desperately to finish up his Bloodstone from that point. He should be able to at least build some momentum and allow his team to close out the fight. Even if he does go down, he gets that really nice AoE heal and just allows the Lone Druid to keep whacking away. Speaking of Chessie, he's almost got the Maelstrom up. This is when the Lone Druid starts really finding his own swing of things. They lose their Tier 2 tower. He's got to come online quickly. He's got 1 talent and plus 200 attack range. He's got the Maelstrom. He's got the tools, but they need to create a safe space for him to fight.
I don't know what kind of space he's going to be able to get, because at this point in time, Complexity are just one more Tier 2 away from taking down the shrines and pretty much just taking the whole map, where you see WanteD at that point in time when they're just crowded indoors and the limited farm is just kind of gobbled up by the Lone Druid, if anything is available at all. He's got a bit now, but I just fear it's too little too late, Blaze.
Yeah, I mean, for example, this Tier 2 tower is not going to be defendable at all from WanteD strategy. They can try to prevent any extra greed coming out from Complexity by closing in with, you know, relocate and jumps from the storm, but if they just put 5 heroes on 1 tower, there's nothing really WanteD can do at this stage for the Tier 2s. So Tier 2 will fall, Shrine will fall next, and that opens up the entire map for Complexity.
Gotta give props to Complexity, man. A well-executed draft. Great laning phase, you know, recognizing what they needed to do. Z-Freak took the time to just be a bit selfish at the start of the game and get to that level 2. Monkeys avoided a lot of trouble in what could have been a pretty tough matchup, the Abaddon 1 versus 3, but you can't help but question a bit of what WanteD game plan was going to be like in the early to mid game and what they were kind of hoping to get done. We didn't get to see that moment of QO kind of snowballing. The Clockwork was there as like a response unit, but never could be like really initiator for the team. Like windows of opportunities, unfortunately, just missed because of Cole's success.
Yeah, I mean, 3 deaths on QO at this stage is actually quite surprising, since none of those happened before Ball Lightning came out. But the Roshan coming through very quickly here. One great tool for that is the Diabolic Edict and, of course, the amp damage. But Arrow will snag PPD, and that's going to hurt in terms of their potential to jump in.
They know someone's there. They know something's up. They're jumping from QO, and he gets it. We don't see much from him all game, but he gets something done now, and WanteD look to try to take the game back on the back of that if they can. QO in the midst of it, taking it right to Monkeys, but Monkeys has his borrowed time and is able to shrug it off. Chessie goes in on Swindle Melons, who is going to be able to back away. QO still holds that Aegis, and he is trying to make it out. Pops the mana off, but Z-Freak is on the chase. He has a crush. He will dish it out, but unfortunately, oh, the arrow is just off the mark, and they're not going to be able to get it. Okay, WanteD, get the Aegis, get themselves back inside, and breathe new life into this game.
Yeah, it does suck to lose those 3 heroes for nothing, but they get this snatch, and that is so important because right now, WanteD, their best chance of bringing this game back is defending on the high ground, and it's so much harder to do that against an Aegis Weaver, just poking and prodding from range at your barracks. You don't have really great tools to initiate on him unless you fully commit. But now that they don't have to worry about the Aegis, only you have to worry about the time lapse of that Weaver, and that definitely makes it more possible for them to bring this back. So they do lose 3, but snatching the Aegis, I think, is the greater victory.
Let's see, though. I'm sure for compLexity side, they're kind of like, don't worry about it. It's fine. We're already far enough ahead where we can win the fights necessary here. QO just destroys Swindle out there on the side, and compLexity already go on the run back. But Boris makes his move in, gets the catch onto Zach, locks him within the cogs, and there goes the ulti from PPD. Everything they want to get the finish on Slaughter are WanteD now feeling themselves, moving in. Oh, Monkeys! His team gets canceled for the battery assault, moving in for Boris. He's not going to be able to make it out, and now borrowed time's going to get pumped. He gets surrounded, and he is going to be taken down. So convenient there for WanteD. Oh, man.
Yeah, I will say that was a little luck. Like, a lot of these plays are really good movement from Boris as well as all of WanteD, but that was just very fortunate that he found the Abaddon right in the right position. But all the same, when you talk about this high ground aspect and you think compLexity, they're so good at team fighting, they're so good at 5-manning, they're so confident at this stage in the game. If you've watched compLexity any time in the past 2 years, high ground is actually one of the banes of their existence. They have a lot of situations where they can't decide whether to stay and commit to a barracks or they pull back, and that has been just something that they've been having to work through as a team for a long time.
Trying to close out, you know?
Having to close out the game is one thing that compLexity has a lot of difficulty with, and we're seeing WanteD get in a better and better position to actually reinforce their high ground and to turn the game back on its head.
Yeah, for compLexity's sake, I would really hope that looking at this network graph in the future, I'm not going to soon see this giant mountain peak that goes right back down again. They have already clinched themselves such a heavy-handed advantage, and when late game begins to really come out, I don't know, man. I would be a bit nervous to see a Swole Lone Druid and now a QO who is starting to feel his rhythm quite a bit.
Now, they will have the pipe coming out on Swindle Melons pretty soon. The Weaver, obviously, finishing up the Lincolns and about to buy up his Maelstrom. So a lot of good things going for them, but they still have to be just always together, moving in the right positions, and they have to find a way to bring this Lone Druid down from a distance because the Pike is about to come online.
compLexity smoke, they move their way through WanteD territory now, looking to get some of those nice wards down. And WanteD themselves now smoked, moving up and inside. Z-Freak close, and he gets spotted. He is kind of the one out there for Cole, almost like a scout, I guess, at that point. He thought he was going to be in a good enough pocket where he could blink away, but good jump from QO there.
Yeah, and this is kind of the unfortunate aspect of the off-lane Abaddon compared to the support one, is that in this mid-game stage, all you have for mobility is phase boost. So when your enemy gets caught, you're not going to be able to like run in with Tranquil and Blink Dagger.
They arrow for the bear, and they think about moving in on it, but QO makes his jump, and WanteD are looking to take advantage with their own numbers here in a mid-lane push. but they're not going to get the follow-up yet. Moo comes in now and starts jabbing at Boris a bit. WanteD do not want to be chased. Are trying to fend off compLexity from pursuing any further. QO sees an opening, looks to jump down and get the jump onto Cancel here, who's going to get bumped back from Boris. Cancel has plenty of mana, goes back to the high ground and avoids further trouble. QO with not enough mana to chase up. Swindle locked down a bit, and he's in trouble. Gets shredded apart from Chessie, and he'll be taken out from the fight moving forward. Jo, though, also going to get popped. Nicely done there from Moo. He looks to go for PPD. Rushing on in, looking to go for the little lady, though. It's going to be Chessie. Set up from Z-Freak. Good stun there. WanteD move back inside where they feel it's safe. Jo has bought back.
Yeah, not for much, though. He didn't even get really a lot of fountain healing out onto Chessie here, but it seems like it's enough to deter compLexity.
Yeah.
A couple of key target isolations, isolating the
QO is on the prowl for Chessie. He jumps all the way in, is able to still hold some good amount of mana here, but Z-Freak hits him up with the crush. Jump in from Boris. Connects onto 3, locks him in their place, but he is quickly going to be outnumbered. One Blade Mail is not going to be good enough to shrug them off. He is able to get QO into a safer spot, though, and WanteD again might need to kind of bounce back inside. The relocate will help get him out. Chessie runs back, but Z-Freak catches him right out the door with a nice crush. Then QO jumps in, gets the pull, and saves his comrade Chessie, allowing him to make it back inside. It will cost QO's life.
He'll be back soon, though.
Yeah.
He had enough charges. He's going to be respawning here in just a few seconds. So, while that death does cost a decent bit of gold and experience going the way of a call, it's still going to be potential to continue defending the high ground. So, it's tough. Obviously, it's originally a mistake on QO's part to go that deep, that hard. He thought he'd just have another freebie like he had the last 2 times he picked off Slardar. But in this case, they were ready, they were waiting, and they were able to turn it back around. So Boris dies and for QO, and then QO dies for Chessie. But in the end, it kind of resets everything. If we continue to look at the graphs, it's plateaued out. compLexity, they're going to look for the next Roche, they're going to look for the next Aegis, and that's when they need to look to close out the game. Because if they can't take it on Roche number 2, then we're going to be looking at a very drawn-out game, which WanteD can take advantage of.
Yeah, I would imagine they are eyeballing the late 4th quarter at this point if you're WanteD, unless you can fully take advantage of compLexity overstepping themselves a bit here. Swindles, as we see now, moving in to get the sentry down.
He misses one of the lower ground wards and doesn't actually see the one on the high ground. So.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's in range. It's just they don't have vision on it at the moment, but it's still pretty awkward to not get much intel where you desperately need it.
So they'll have to run all the way back and over here. Oh my God, that may have hit if QO didn't happen to be TPing there. QO trying to split push a bit to obviously, as mentioned before, have WanteD stall things out and create more space for themselves. Lots of building up to do here.
All right, so Balanced Lone Druid has a 65 damage talent. He's probably going to go for Scotty next, and at that point, he's going to be extremely tanky, having extreme range, and of course, being able to put out a hell of a lot of damage. So that's when you have to be the most worried for the side of call. They might not even wait for the next Roche. They might just actually try to go for a full 5-man movement, but it looks like this Observer Sentry duo on the plateau is going to see it all.
Seems to be the case here. These are Smokes and an Invis Rune and a Moonlight Shadow. Or not Smokes, but Moonlight Shadow, not a Smoke, so it's going to be spotted out. But thankfully for WanteD, they are way far away on the other side of the map right now. And seem to be avoiding all that trouble. So compLexity.
Oh, whoa. Yeah, they're just going. Well, we're going to have to see a mass TP back to defend the high ground.
They've already started.
They're not really set up.
They already have 3 back inside, but compLexity have begun to make their move right down the mid lane. Here, WanteD make their return. One of them not back yet. It's Boris, who may have to do the long trek. He has 8 more seconds on his own TP. But
nice little call from Swindles, though. I mean, just being able to take some nice chip damage from that tower. I mean, being able to take free 700 HP off the mid-tier 3, just based on WanteD playing very far down in the bottom lane. Just a really good read and some free damage at no cost.
There is a push bottom lane going in favor of WanteD at the moment, so there is time ticking here before compLexity will have their own pressure on south. As WanteD have the capability here, overcharged Chessie Lone Druid with Mjolnir is certainly going to be good enough to shred through any of these creep waves moving forward. So I'm curious what it's going to take from Cole to breach. This is exactly what continues to be their bottleneck.
Yeah. I was actually surprised it took this long for Geometry side to come out for Swindle Melons here. Once you take the shrines from the opposition, all you want to do then is just take away the ward vision. They don't have any place to TP to, they don't have any intel across the map, and you just get full map control and all the farm to yourself. But, you know, you're a little hesitant when you're the one with 2 Invis heroes to pick up the first gem, but in this case, it's definitely necessary, and they're going to start to build a better grasp on the map as a whole.
QO top lane here. Hanging on the side, split pushing a bit.
So hard to actually kill him off. Like, he could just do so much. As long as his TP doesn't get canceled, he's pretty much home free in almost any situation. He's just tanky enough to survive the chain stuns that are coming out, unless an arrow's involved.
I have hit Roshan with my eyes closed.
Call make the move. Moving for the Roche right now. A rocket on route. Will spot it out here for WanteD.
Is QO setting up for another snatch? They cannot fight this, but if they can snatch it, that would
He's
be
going all the way in. They are going to get the takedown of the Roche. He will not be able to get the snag of the Aegis this time, however, and he will lose his life for it.
So
man.
Yeah, Dire take the Roshan.
Yeah.
But, the Aegis is the prize, and that does cost Storm Spirit. If that,
But look at bottom lane. WanteD already going to be outside the door of compLexity here. compLexity trying to beeline it themselves down mid lane.
Yeah.
What's the call going to be here? It's Chessie with overcharged Wisp.
And the beautiful thing is you have relocated build, so you can easily bring in everybody back to defend and have your cake and eat it too. They can take A racks and defend their mid, and I think that's going to be the key here. Is they're going to just jump back as soon as they need to, and we'll see. Right now, Monkey's putting a lot of attack speed boost on that racks with the Curse of Avernus, and it is going to be a full-on trade. It looks like.
Bottom lane, Zfreak going to get roared, sent on back, cancel with the BKB, hanging from the backside. The relocate's there, and they're going to go back home. 1 racks down. It looks like on the side of WanteD. While Cole even get to hold their tier 3, just barely standing.
Yeah, I guess I have to kind of reorient myself about this Lone Druid hero, as we do see a Wisp just getting picked off on the rubber band of the relocate. But you have to remember that while Lone Druid used to be really good at taking buildings, because the Lone Druid has a Demolish passive, which gives him 140% building damage, the damage isn't coming from the bear. It's coming from the master himself, Syllabear. So in that case, yeah, the trade isn't going to be nearly as worthwhile. A simple glyph, and they actually even keep their tier 3 up on compLexity side.
Oh, Moo makes the move to go onto the bear, finds himself swinging around with QO a bit, but they can't seem to get a good lock, and the Moonlight Shadow will also come out. WanteD get themselves back inside where they feel it's safe, and compLexity get themselves back outside. Where they're going to look to make their move. Zfreak jumps in, gets a nice crush. Follow-up stuns there. QO going to get blasted apart. Seems to be fine. Won't be able to make it back and away to the arms of Jo. Zfreak will not be able to make it out. PBD loses his life. Monkey moves in for him. A re-engagement comes out from QO. Monkey's going to pop the borrow time, and they move in and get the gem down as they blast apart Swindle Melons here. compLexity hang on the outskirts. Moo
Get him!
is not going to be able to assist on this one. Jumping forward, they get the takedown now of Monkeys. That's the gem. Cancel, hiding behind the trees. Arrow on the high ground, gets connection for Boris. Can he right-click him apart? Boris pops the blade mail. It gets out of the range and allows Chessie to just begin going in on Cancel and taking him down. Triple kill for the Lone Druid. WanteD hold.
Yeah, there's a lot of different factors going into that fight there. One of the biggest ones is just the fact that PPD got about 4 or 5 seconds on his freezing field. From a distance, he let it go, and it was actually Abaddon Bash was the only tool that they had left at their disposal to break the CM ulti. So in that case, they're able to put out a lot of damage back the other way. The Storm Spirit just fully committing with his life means that the Chessie gets the space he needs to finally put out the damage, and this brings him up to Scotty territory. He got a lot of gold out of that exchange, and while they are at a 1 racks deficit, WanteD is has a team composition that can easily come back from that kind of a position.
Yep.
So compLexity, they have to really turn their herd on. They don't have a Roche for quite a while now. It's only been 3 minutes since the last Roshan. So they have to just, without an Aegis and without Cheese, look for another tier 3, I think. Otherwise, Chessie is going to be massive, and QO will be willing to create the space for him.
Do you think it would feel comfortable for compLexity and the amount of damage that they're able to get out? I mean, we know Moo hits pretty hard, and certainly with Zfreak helping out with the amp damage. is that enough though in these fights? Does it
Yeah.
feel like it's enough in these fights?
It was enough up until this point. 35 minutes, the first half of this game, so to speak, has been really strong for complexity. They're able to chain stun, they're able to put a lot of damage in, but it's kind of finite, right? Other than upping the corrosive haze on Slardar to get a little bit more negative armor and to continue to give move farm and get that Bloodthorn up, there's really only so many more places you can go in terms of damage output.
Ooh, they're trying to go for a good jump here on Chessie, who is in the mid lane. Z-Freak goes for it. PPD nearby. Gets off the frostbite. Jo looking to relocate, pulls him back and away. But the chase is there. Monkeys moves in and gets the job done. Now he's looking to go for Jo, and they should do it. Double kill for Monkeys on the Abaddon. Make it a triple as he snipes that one down. All right, complexity not looking to lose a hold of this one. WanteD had a strong hold in the mid lane, but complexity, they fought too hard to get to this kind of position. They're not looking to let up.
Yeah, the Lone Druid will be respawning very shortly. He does have the negative 50 respawn time talent, but it looks like the racks are already gone. They're just putting way too much damage, and great jump in, and unfortunately just way too weak of a relocate from Jo. Now PPD gets arrowed, and there's nothing left in the tank for WanteD.
Buy back out from PPD. QO moves in, finds himself silenced, has to step right back out. Chessie back from the dead now. But they will find their racks already gone. Jumping again. Z-Freak just absolutely clutched this game with the crushes. Sets up another beautiful one there for complexity as they look to go for the nail in the coffin. WanteD are going to be pushed back. Complexity happy with their winnings. They'll walk away.
Yeah, and that's going to be a very, very difficult position for WanteD to fight back from. They are now at a 2-lane deficit. And, of course, spending multiple buybacks to try to get back into that fight. They don't actually have any buybacks available to them at this moment. Complexity got exactly what they wanted there. Really nice jump twice from Z-Freak, getting the perfect stuns out, specifically on the Lone Druid. Jo only giving him about a blink dagger's worth of breathing room with that relocate. Just wasn't enough, and Monkeys cleans it up on the back line. This is really good move for complexity, kind of like just having this full concave arc come streaming in and being able to follow through with all these key abilities. Like, yeah, they're on a timer. Yeah, they have their limitations, but Moo is continuing to progress, and at least his damage will always be impactful. And when you get pickoffs like that, it just doesn't matter how tanky you are. You can get a Scotty and a Heart, and Lone Druid would probably still be going down there.
Now Cole find themselves in a position where they're just 1 racks away from claiming the Megas and claiming game number 1, which people would look at this and maybe consider it an upset or not, just based on WanteD's performance against Digital Chaos the other day, or yesterday rather. So as it stands right now, complexity taking all those big winnings from their successful push in through the top lane, and we have to see where they go from here. Already starting their adventure down this bottom lane. Do you suppose they take that all the way up to the base? Do they need to round off and go back for the Roche?
I think Roche is a perfectly reasonable approach. At this point, you have so much lane pressure that they're not going to be able to make any moves without you seeing them. WanteD could smoke up, but you know that they're not pushing up the lane, so they're losing shrines or whatnot. So at that point, Roche is pretty much free for call, and it's just an easy closeout of the game for them. Combining that with the fact they have Bloodthorn and amp damage, that Roche may be lasting like all of 6 seconds, makes it such an easy objective for them. So they'll continue to move together to avoid being picked off, but they don't have to breach high ground at this stage.
Looks like WanteD, though, are making a game plan themselves. It could be a predictable movement coming in from complexity, and one that WanteD want to try to take advantage of here with some good positioning. They're going to be creeping in. This time Z-Freak, he's not going to be able to get in first and foremost. Instead, he's the one that is going to get hit, and now it's going to be a jump-in Moo going right in and trying to take it right to Chessie himself. The jumps continue. They're going to be able to get him down. He's going to be out for about 30 seconds. QO frantic to try to make it back and away. Inside, low on life, low on mana, amped up. He hits the shrine to stay alive, but the Gemini is going to be able to get the finish. He's out of this one for a minute and drops the gen with his dead corpse. Cancel moves in now, a setup from Z-Freak, and this could do it. Complexity. Full 5-man wipe of WanteD here at the end. 33-17, they take game number 1.
Yeah, a little bit of hope for WanteD there in the tail end of the mid game, but it's just Moo doing way too much damage. They had a DD and a Bloodthorn, and I don't know, WanteD 2 fights in a row. I expected them to be defending from their high ground, playing it very safe, playing it like they have a sniper, and instead they end up taking it kind of on the hills in the middle of the open field, and that's going to be where complexity thrive. They're able to get the initiation off they need, no matter what QO did in that team fight. It just doesn't matter. He finally had a BKB and Orchid, uses them to perfection, and yet compLexity just have too much of a resounding advantage at that point in time. So WanteD taking a bit of a too aggressive stance. And you talked about this maybe being an upset, as we did see a 2-1 victory of WanteD over DC.
Yeah.
I'd consider WanteD more in calibration right now.
That's
They're like they could take a game here, they can lose a game there. We don't really fully understand the strength of this team.
Yeah.
They're obviously taking the game seriously, but to what level and to what degree remains to be seen. So game 1 in the books, and I can't wait to see what WanteD and compLexity bring out in game number 2.
Yeah, I would suspect probably a bit more attention towards the laning phase here for WanteD a bit, but you're absolutely right. A team that's calibrating, I like how you put it like that, a team that's learning a lot about what kind of compositions they're able to succeed with. One thing's for sure, compLexity already know what their team could succeed with. They pull out a lineup they have already polished a bit, and we've seen work, and it continues to be a tried and true for them. Shoutouts to Moo on the Weaver, by the way, 12-1 and 13. This man finds a ridiculous amount of farm in the laning phase and just really hits it home at the back end of it. And then also shout out to, of course, Z-Freak. Tremendous setups with his Slardar on those crushes. Really made it count. That's just game number 1, folks. We'll cut to a break. When we come back, more DAC American Qualifier action as we get into game number 2 of compLexity versus WanteD.